everyone and welcome to RC Fun and Games. I am Ryan and today we're going to be having a look at these awesome new planet axles from Injora for the SCX24. Now there's loads of advantages with these axles over the traditional axles for the SCX24. Besides a better scale look, they also perform a lot better than the stock axles. So let's get these boxes open so we can see what they look like, what it takes to get them installed, and of course how the rig performs overall at the end around my backyard course. Okay, so let's start by removing these axles over here so we can compare them to the new planet axles. Okay, so let's start by getting the wheels off. Okay, so now that we've got the wheels off, let's start by removing the shocks. Now that we've got the shocks off, I'm just going to loosen the lower links. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the two upper screws on the diff cover so that this mount can come out. Like that we can reuse it on the new axle. Okay, so now that we've got the rear axle out, let's grab the rear axle and let's just compare them so we can see the differences. This is the rear, so let's grab this one. Okay, putting these two axles side by side, you can immediately tell the new Planet axles have a way more realistic design over the traditional SCX24 axle. But besides that, they are both worm driven. The only other difference is the length of the axle. As you can see, the new axles are 8 millimeters wider in total compared to the traditional axle. Now before we throw this in, let's just check how it feels. And I've got to say that feels really smooth. I feel nothing hanging up or anything. Really nice smooth axle. So before I throw this in, I think we should just open up this cover and see how much grease is inside here. And as we can see, there's plenty of grease on these gears. So the factory has done a good job at greasing these up. No wonder they feel so nice and smooth. And before I close this up, I just want to point out that the traditional gears from the SCX24 are compatible with these axles. Okay, so now let's get this installed back in here, and I'm going to start by putting this upper mount back over. Now I'm going to stick my drive shaft back on and make sure you keep it in phase. Now let me throw my lower links back on. Okay, so now that we've got the rear back together, let's get the front one off. Okay, and I'm going to start by removing the lower links. Now, once again, I'm going to remove the two upper screws on the diff cover so that I can remove the whole mount holding the servo. Okay, so now that we've got the front axle out, let's compare it to the new front Planet axle. Okay, we get our steering links, we get our hardware, and of course our front axle. Now just check out the angles you can turn with this thing. Okay, now before we start comparing them, let me get the steering links on. Now I'm just going to put a dot of Loctite on these. Okay, so now that I've got the steering links assembled, I would like to show you what's hiding behind these brass knuckles. And as you can see, it's some double ball jointed axle shafts, allowing for some crazy steering angles compared to the traditional axles for the SCX24. Now just compare that to the traditional, and as you can see, you're getting some really bad steering angles, especially when you add these brass diff covers. It allows for even less angle than with the original diff cover. Now with these over here, as you can see, you're getting some insane steering angles, and besides that, it's also going to be a lot smoother at those angles than those traditional axles. And just like the rear set, it's really nice and smooth and clearly well greased from the factory. So now the only thing left to do is to get it installed so we can get out there and go and test it. Okay, so let's start by installing back our steering link to the servo. Just check out how cool this thing ends up with these axles. I think that looks way more scale than the traditional axle that you get for the SCX24. These are so clean looking, and besides that, the shape just looks so much more realistic to the traditional axles. Now the only thing left to do is to get out and do some testing to see if it actually performs any better. I'm gonna take it around the backyard course, especially that line around the top of my mountain, as the new steering angles should make a huge difference to be able to do it all in one take instead of having to do a 2-point turn around those bends. Now before I leave you all with that running footage, I just want to say a massive thank you to Injora for sending these axles out for me to review. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for watching. And if you enjoy this type of content, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And until the next video, happy trails everyone.